Don't open that box. What have you done? You shouldn't have opened it. You shouldn't have opened it. Opened it. Opened it.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spin Polish Presents The Mystery Box. I am one of your hosts, Rhys Mckenzie.
And I am the other host, Bartek.
Bartek, our first mystery box in the new decade.
That's true.
Feeling scared?
No.
Feeling happy?
Yes.
Why are you happy?
Because it's the first episode of the new decade.
For this show, yeah.
Yes.
It's an exciting time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're Spin Polish, likingly because we're always spinning, and we both happen to be Polish. Bartek, could you demonstrate how we're Polish?
Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła, kiedy my żyjemy.
Yeah, exactly right. That's
Jestem
exactly.
głodny.
Okay, that's enough. But we get copyrighted.
No, it's okay. I was improvising by the end.
Cool. And we are doing our monthly show, The Mystery Box. If you haven't listened to the show before, basic premise, we watch a movie that is in a box that is filled with DVDs of things that we have found secondhand from op shops, the gutter, sent in as anthrax in an envelope, that kind of thing.
I thought you said Satan.
Satan. And usually we get a guest to come in, pick one of the movies at random, we watch the movie together, and then we come back here and record about what that movie was and our general thoughts on it. Pretty good breakdown?
That's right.
No, I'm Ryan. So, Bartek, did we do this episode alone?
No, I'm right.
Oh, okay.
And we did not do it alone. We did it together. And with a guest.
Oh, cool. Who's the guest?
Also, actually, hold on. No, we haven't done the episode yet. We're doing
Oh, cool.
it together and with a guest. And that guest...
Well, by the time they listen to this, the episode's done.
Fuck. Oh, sorry, that's bad swearing.
This isn't this isn't a live. Yeah.
Our
Butt
guest,
cork.
our guest is returning from previous episodes, Rhys Mckenzie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Oh,
Rhys. How are you?
Sorry. No, that was just from my laughing. Sorry.
I took a sip of water and Rhys introduced himself like a prepubescent girl.
I didn't.
and I'm
I
just,
didn't
like,
intend
nearly-
it.
Michael
I know.
Jackson.
I like how he's like, I didn't intend it. Well, of course you didn't. That's just how you naturally sound.
I was just
Now-
Right
laughing.
from word one, Rhys.
Now he's putting on a deep manly voice.
Oh God, I can't
Oh,
win.
football.
Football.
Baseball.
Akadaka. Australian male, Aussie day, yeah. So,
Yes.
Rhys,
Yes.
you came in.
Yes.
You chose a movie.
I did choose a movie.
Did you have any expectations?
Look, from the last time I chose a mystery box, it was pretty much not the greatest film to watch on the mystery box. Can you remember what film it was?
Alien Intruder.
That's
I'll
correct.
never forget.
And so I thought
I
maybe
tried.
because I chose it a certain way, I just chose a random one this time, and we chose this film today.
And that film being
Bored Silly.
Bored Silly, and boy was it.
Yes, we've played the trailer. Well, part of the trailer of this film previously.
Yeah, let's talk about our history just to fill it in. When we were watching, I want to say Stardust.
Yes.
We got trailers for Betaville, a movie that we have covered, and now this, Bored Silly, which we also covered. And we said at the time, and then we also said in Betaville when we were doing this part, that Bored Silly looked like the dullest one and that we really hope we
Yeah.
never had to watch it. But I got a triple movie pack in which Bored Silly and Betaville were on it. We already owned a copy of Stardust, so we had already watched Stardust.
Yep.
So then, we watched Betaville, and then all these months later, Bored Silly's just been like that one of the few movies left now that we know that's in the box, that we are like really like, ooh, that's gonna be something we'll watch. Like the others are kind of like a bit more vague and a bit more like, or ones that are more new, but this is one of the oldest ones that we kind of have a strong recollection of at this point and going, ooh, that's something that we'll encounter. Sometimes Bartek will be like, oh, slap his hands together, goes like, can't wait for Bored Silly, and he knows that I react like, because it looks fucking boring.
It did look boring, yeah.
And we got it, new decade, and I predicted it last night with my wife. I was like, we're going to get bored silly. And I was like, might as well get it out of the way. And then when we got to date, I was just groaning in agony. And Bart's just like that attitude too of, well, it's better to get it out of the way now. There's no regret in watching. I'm like, sometimes it is just more painful to watch them. And this may or may not have been that experience.
Bye. And have some fun.
Like I said, this is a triple pack. The poster is more descriptively found on the back, but it is so tiny that it is pretty much irrelevant to talk about. But to give you an idea of the poster, it's a bunch of images smashed together from the movie to make it look like a poster, where it's like there are 3 main kids up against a gate, a fence, shaking it like they're a prisoner of war camp movie. And then there's a guy above them who looks like a G.I. Joe type of dude, but then we find out in the movie he is not Michael Douglas's character from Falling Down.
Mm-hmm.
And then a blue sky, and then the phrase bored silly with a B on the R.
So a bunch of like references to things that will be in the film.
And something written, but it's too small to read. But
there was a frog there too, wasn't
and
there?
there's a frog with a toy in its mouth.
How small is the text?
You give it a go, Super Eyes.
No, too small.
Too small. Trust Ryan. And this movie, it was rated G. And G. It was a G movie.
It should have been rated B.
I was not
That was a good one, Rhys.
thrilled having to watch this. But sometimes movies, they just kind of sideline you. And they go, hey, you weren't thrilled to see me, but now I'm here and you're watching me. Maybe the opinion has changed. But it's like, when you saw that Rhys picked Bored Silly, well, first, you heard him pick a DVD because the DVD was rattling around inside.
Yeah, it was loose.
I had a feeling it would be Bored Silly because of that, because I remember that was a thing with this DVD.
Okay.
But when you saw it was Bored Silly, how did you feel?
It was very content, like, finally. Because it's been like a year and a half almost since we've seen Betaville from this pack.
Has it really been a year and a half?
It was like November or October of 2018.
Wow. It's been so long since those kids killed themselves for that tank. So, yeah, Rhys, that's the thing that happened in that movie.
I missed out.
To get into the nitty gritty of this film,
Well, how did you feel when it was picked, though?
I said that I was frustrated and I didn't want to watch it.
You weren't too happy about this
I
film
wasn't
being
really
picked.
happy. And then I had to explain to Bartek why we had watched Stardust already when it wasn't on this triple pack, and he was like,
Yeah.
"What?" And that made me even sadder because I'm like, now I'm frustrated as well as having to watch it as well. But Rhys,
Yes.
you have the monumental joy of giving us a quick overview of what what happened. I was gonna say plot. I was gonna say plot. Rhys, good luck.
Was I talking to you, butt cork?
Oh, okay. Bear with me here.
There isn't a bear in here. It's just us.
No, okay, so
Bartek is pretty hairy though.
we are introduced at the beginning of the film to 3 boys who are just at the beginning of their summer break from school, okay?
Yeah.
And 3 days in, they're pretty bored, so they decide to build a fort. And
Was it a quick decision?
no, that process alone took probably a third of the film to get going.
Was anything quick in this film? I guess
No.
Was anything
Like, you'll
boring
notice-
in the film?
You'll notice in this film, it's kind of like the director said, I want long shots of just plain open fields and just watching the boys cross this field with like kiddie music in the background every time they're walking to places, basically. The score was
Yeah.
pretty intrusive in a
Yeah.
lot of spots.
Very whimsical.
I think editing Ryan's just gonna play some whimsical music similar to this underneath this whole entire episode, just to give you the feel.
Yeah, and through...
And then 50s rock and roll music.
Oh, yeah,
When it gets really heated.
every time they're running away from stuff, it's 50s rock and roll music, and then when they're just walking, it's just like playful, joyful.
Hold on, Rhys. They weren't running in the pool scene.
Before you get to that,
I know.
No.
Rhys, so you're saying the plot of this movie is kids want to build a fort during their summer break. Is this an episode of Phineas and Ferb?
No.
Okay.
Like, this is
Phineas and
like,
Herb.
they tried to build a fort, but through, like, the misadventures, they have to... Wait, I have to think about this.
Thinking's hard
this
for you.
because like the plot of the film takes ages to kick in, basically.
But it's so simple. Why are you having such a...
explain it.
Well, the general synopsis is these kids want to find something to do on this one particular day of their summer break.
So they build a fort.
And building a fort is like the main thing they do throughout it, but they keep doing like random activities that like...
They have obstacles that come up along the way, and then they have to pursue those. It's like when you're playing a video game, and you have the main objectives, but you need to build up your XP, so you need to do all these side objectives, so that way you can take down the King Koopa.
Speaking of video games, there was a very frustrating scene in terms of what they did to their Game Boy.
A Game Boy Color.
A Game Boy Color. And they buried it.
In the dirt?
In the dirt. They didn't even need to throw dirt on it. They were going to cover it up with a plank of wood, basically. Like, throwing dirt was, like, pointless at this point. It was just like, why? Bartek, I think you brought up like, speakers, basically. Like, that'll...
Oh, just like a simple thing of like, oh, there's an exposure in this thing, you know, the speaker holes. Dirt will get in that and fuck it up. And then Ryan brought up also, this system uses cartridges, which are notoriously, you know, dust get inside them.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, Game Boys did have a pretty solid... Like solid life to my Game Boy's still working. They're like thick with dust in there, so like, you know, they could sustain the dirt injury.
When we see it later in the film, it's very clean.
It was like an episode of it was like a game of Pokemon where it's like our kids used dirt attack on the Game Boy, and it went
You chump Ryan, it's sand attack.
No, but they had dirt.
But like the main, like second half of the film, they're trying to get a door for their fort, and they're sort of having misadventures with this sort of junkyard homeless. Well, he's not homeless. We thought he was homeless, but he wasn't.
He has a home.
He has a home in the junkyard.
He has a property.
He has a property.
It's not even the junkyard. His home is a junkyard. It's not an actual junkyard. It's just his place is filled with junk. He's a hoarder.
It's almost like he owns a farm, but like it's not a farm. It's just got a bunch of
It's
hoarded
scraps.
stuff.
Oh, scrap town, forever lost and never found. Home for broken hearts. Excuse me.
And I was just thinking, like, this character has to kick into the plot anytime soon, but he doesn't. He just comes in at the last possible moment of the film.
It's that kind of thing where we see this character throughout the entire film, and there's always like, you know, a menacing tone when he's there. The kids have this like, oh, I hear he butchered 6 kids. And he doesn't say a single word for the longest time.
And I don't think we ever properly get a close-up shot of him till like they actually go to his place.
Yeah, but sometimes we do get like brief close-up shots. Like there was one that like you saw his face, but then it was like panning down to something else. So it's
it was very odd.
Yeah, and it brought up this like suggestion of, okay, maybe it's gonna be a twist of like, oh, he's actually a nice guy all along.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like the twist of they misunderstood the local legend, but no, he was evil.
Yeah, he legitimately just was a bad guy.
Which is boring.
They called him Ghetto Horse?
Ghetto Horse.
Yeah, Ghetto
we
Horse.
heard it ghetto.
Oh, right, that's right, the credits.
I thought they said ghetto whore. Like,
yeah, I thought that too. I didn't even hear that part. I just thought they said, hey, look, it's ghetto. Because he's poor? Is that what they were trying to indicate? But no, it's get a horse, which I don't even know why he's called that.
Yeah.
Rhys?
No, I saw his name in the credits. I'm like, who's Get a Horse? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, Get a Horse. Oh, okay, right, I get it now.
Maybe it was a joke of like, oh, he's always riding his bike really kind of slowly. Why don't you just get a horse? I don't know.
So, yeah, this movie is one of those American type movies where it's like, we're on a summer break and what are we gonna do? We're just a bunch of rapscallions who are just like a bunch of Dennis the Menaces all rolled into one a group of 3.
Yeah.
We're little rascals. We're just gonna try and figure out what we're gonna do with our day, and oh no, there's bullies, and oh no, we don't have money for ice cream, and oh no, there's a frog.
I distinctly
and it's just
remember
like that's the kind of movie this is.
Yeah, I distinctly remember the trailer all the way back when we did the Stardust episode. It was talking about like there are no adults, the kids rule.
There were adults.
There were adults, and
but they did nothing.
They terrorized them.
They still did nothing though.
Yeah, I know.
Even teenagers terrorized the kids. Like the bully throughout the second half of the movie kept terrorizing.
Did you notice how Rhys keeps bringing up the second half of the movie stuff somewhat happens? That's the problem. This movie is all setups, and then the payoffs are literally blink and you'll miss it type of payoffs, and they're boring. They're boring.
It's boring to the point where at the end of the movie
we
it
were
sets
bored
up.
silly.
Yeah. Well, good one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad. But at the end of the movie, it sets itself up for a sequel.
You think
So
that was a
bad.
setup for a sequel? I thought
Yeah.
it was just like a gotcha. Like,
I
Rhys, what would the sequel do? Bored sillier? Like,
Bored again.
bored again? That's boring though. No, I love it if it was
No,
born again and they became Christians in the next episode of the miniseries that is this movie. So, before we even get to the ending, this movie has 3 central characters,
Yes.
all young boys who are all white and vary on the shade of colors of hair from dirty red brown hair to dirty blonde hair. And they all are missing teeth. And
they're all 8, we learned.
they're
Yeah,
all
they're
8
right.
that we learn. Bartek, when we first get introduced to our 3 characters, they all have very distinctive personality traits. What were those, and did they come to fruition in the entire film?
Yeah, so the scene, the film opens with a scene of, you know, the last 10, that's being generous, like the last 5 minutes of school before summer break begins. And we see, like, the teacher, you know, calming down this rowdy class, and the 3 most prominent characters in this scene are our 3 main characters. I think their names were Chuck, Charlie, and Bobby.
I'll take your word.
Yeah, I think those are the names, but I
I
can't.
thought one of them
can't-
was Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny.
Oh,
There was a
Johnny.
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 I know there was a Chuck. I know there was a Johnny. I don't know the blonde kid's name.
Johnny.
Either way, even if I knew the names, I couldn't tell you which was which.
Right.
And yeah, so the 3 prominent kids. The first one eats these moldy cookies that have been in someone's.
So it's establishing that he's kind of the schlubby one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like he's gross and eats gross
Yeah,
things.
kinda
Like,
like
that's what
the-
it's establishing.
He's like the Phil and Lil of the group, I guess.
Yeah.
There's another one who he was chewing gum and wearing a hat in class.
So that's establishing that this kid is
He's like-
sun safe.
Yeah, unsafe and rebellious. And there was another one who the teacher, in all her exasperation, has to keep reminding him to tie his shoes.
And how do we know that we are supposed to focus on this kid in his establishing shot in which it focuses on the window and not the kid? It was amazing.
And and one of them has a lucky star.
Which one?
Oh yeah, the Ranger kid.
Yeah, but which one's that?
Of the 3 that I just described,
the first one.
Was
There
it there was the gross one, right?
It was
Gross
the
one.
first one, yeah.
So, Bartek, I asked you, did those things come to fruition? Did those things consistently pay off in the movie, those personality clicks and traits?
Only in the minorest of ways. Like,
I
I
wa-
would say that the kid who chewed the gum and had the cap, like, pretty much no.
I would also say the kid who ate gross things pretty much no, because he never really does that again.
He teased the worms thing,
But
but
that's
other
not
than
enough.
That, yeah.
Like, I was expecting him to constantly be doing gross things.
You thought he was going to be like the id of the group the whole way
Sure,
through.
sure. If we're going to compare them to the mind. Yeah. Which one's the super ego? The old lady with the mower. So, like, I was expecting more strong payoff. The only one that really does is kid who doesn't know how to tie his shoelaces. And the payoff to that, spoiler alert, is he learns how to tie his shoelaces, but then that fucks him over in the end. And then for the rest of the movie,
hold on,
he
it's not-
unlearns that he unlearns tying his shoelaces, because in the end it was better for him not to tie his shoelaces.
It wasn't that he was learning to tie his shoelaces, it was learning that he had to.
Yeah,
or like
but-
have the or
But why?
be responsible, because the line that he like, and I know this wasn't throughout
This
the
will
whole
get you into
film,
trouble
This will
someday.
get you into trouble
But
someday.
it didn't. In fact, tying them got him into trouble.
That was
So
yeah, it was
that's
really
what I
bizarre.
mean. It's a stupid payoff. So in the context of the movie, this kid gets trapped in a fence at the junkyard trailer guy's
Yeah,
house.
that has a gap that you
and-
can crawl under.
And he beforehand didn't want to go under because he was too afraid. And then the motivation to go save his friends was these shoelaces will get you in trouble one day. So you're like, oh, I guess he'll have to tie them up.
yeah, tie my
that's like,
shoes, save my friends.
Save my friends. But in the end, he ties his shoes and he saves his friends. But in doing so, he gets trapped himself because of him tying
Yeah,
his
the
shoelaces. And then at the end, after that, he undoes them and he never ties them up again. So he unlearns the lesson that he was supposed to be learning.
because-
So that's what I mean. Like, the payoff for that isn't even consistent.
Well, it's because fuck you, adults, kids rule. I mean, dickwad adults, kids rule.
Bobby, one of these days those untied shoes are going to get you into trouble. One of these days those untied shoes are going to get you into trouble.
out of the 3 kids,
Yes.
which one do you think was most like you when you were that age?
Oh, definitely it's Shoelace's kid.
You were Shoelace's kid
Because-
because he had long blonde hair?
No, well, I did have long blonde hair that turned into gold and what you see now, basically. But, like, I think it was just establishing he was, like, the clueless one of the bunch. Or the daydreamer.
You think that one was the clueless one? I thought the one that was like the one that the chubbier one, the
chubbier
brunette one.
Oh, Johnny.
I thought Johnny was the clueless
So now you know
one.
which one's which.
Well, I don't know the blonde kid's name, but I know the Ranger is Chuck. And I know
Who
the
cares?
dirty blonde. I mean, the
Let's
dirty...
just call them hair
I
colors.
mean, the Ranger and Rugrats
So
also Chucky.
Ranger,
Ranger.
brunette, and Blondie.
So Blondie
I didn't think
relates to me
Blondie
the
was
most.
the clueless one. I thought
Well-
brunette one was the dumb one, like the
The
airheaded
Blondie one was like the sensitive one.
Yeah, he was the more sensitive one.
Like,
Well,
he was the
I-
one that was always insecure.
He was insecure. He was more like, guys, I don't think we should be riding this mower. I'm scared. And then the dumb one would be like, it's fine. Oh no, a bee on my head.
That was a
So that's
freaking
why I
huge
thought
bee.
you would relate to him being
Yeah.
the clueless one. If you're going to say, I relate to the dumb clueless one. Would
Okay,
it be the
okay.
brunette guy?
I still relate to the blonde one.
Is
Because...
it because you're sensitive?
Yes.
Oh, hence you're in a heavy metal band.
Yeah, it's a bit of a... yeah. Yeah.
Got him. I related to from what I was like as a kid. I think I would probably have been. It's
Would you have thrown a rock at people?
oh
yeah.
I know which one. I know which one. I would have been the bully. I would have been the teenage bully. No, I would have been the blonde one too. Like I think he was the more sensible one out of the 3, and I was usually the more sensible one in my group of people. Surprisingly, it shocks many people. But yeah, I wasn't the gross one, and I wasn't. What was the other one? Personality trait, dumb. Yeah. I wasn't that. What about you, Bartek? Out of the 3, which one do you think you would have been in that triad when you were 8 years old?
Honestly, this is a boring answer, but I was also a pretty sensitive kid.
So we're 3 blondes in this room right now.
Oh, God.
We're 3 dirty blondes.
Now, which one of the bully characters would you have been when you were 8 years old?
There was one bully character, though.
There's 3 antagonists.
So...
There's the old cranky junkyard
Junkyard.
guy. There's the sister and her friends. And then there's the teenage bully. Oh, and 4 old ladies who wear their pants too high. They were pretty scary.
I did wear pants as a kid.
And they were high.
So you relate to the old ladies.
Maybe, I guess.
I was a teenage boy.
You were a teenage boy as a kid?
Yep.
I would have been the old man.
I was an old lady as a kid.
You
so-
would have been the old man.
I would have been the old man. I would have been like, get up my property.
Come on, you stupid shoe! You're not to be sneaking around here!
Help!
Hold still! I said hold still, you little varmint!
This movie doesn't have a plot. Like, we just said it, but, like, it doesn't have any through lines. So all these setups all paid off so poorly and or not at all that it doesn't matter. But here's the thing, even if they are, the road to those payoffs is just scenes. We've said this many times on the show before. This is Scenes, the movie. Here's a scene of them going to the pool. Here's a scene of them trying to earn money, so they mow the lawn. And then here's a scene of the lawnmower going crazy. And then here's a scene of some bees. And then here's a scene of an old lady waving at him. And here's a scene of a guy riding a bicycle up the road for 40 minutes.
And half of those scenes have some hijinks in them. Some hijinks. Half of them have some.
Some, not
So
not
like a
every-
quarter of the film has hijinks.
Bartek, you're coming across as the brunette one right now because neither.
Oh, you don't remember the bee scene?
Neither Rhys or I are in agreement with that. We're stony silent about there was some hijinks. I mean,
what?
there was hijinks in the fact that the music made it sound like there was.
Well, the bee scene, though, was...
The bee scene.
It was stupid. I'm not saying that it wasn't.
That was a really big bee, though.
Bee scene doesn't even make any sense.
Well, no, the
Hijinks,
bee,
though.
his hand was... The bee lands on his hand,
No, he's not
What?
talking about that beeson.
What other beast?
He's talking about the originating point of the beeson.
Oh,
The
the
beehive.
hose. The hose.
In which a little
okay.
boy thinks shooting a beehive with a hose from a really far away distance, and then he
There's-
gets like drowned in bees.
There's some bad continuity there because he had the
Because
hose.
the hose that is like really light,
Yeah.
like with the water flow, yeah. And then they have him drop the hose. It's like pissing out such little amount of water. Then like an hour later in the movie's time, the whole fucking yard is flooded. Like it's a
It's like
swamp.
muddy, yeah.
It's like literal swamp land, and you're like, what?
They find worms.
And then one of them wants to eat worms because
Yeah.
yummy, yummy. You know, I'm being hyperbolic. Of course, there is hijinks. It's when you say hijinks, you're expecting some level of energy behind that hijinks. Like you're thinking of some crazy zany stuff going on, but nothing.
No, it's very objective. Like, there were things that happened.
The camera was on. There were lights.
I remember
Like-
yeah.
They had 80-yard lines a lot of the time. Children were in it.
From scene
Like-
one, Ryan was talking about the sound quality.
Because it was peaking.
Yeah.
A lot of the problems with the camera was that if there was a moving shot, you saw the camera shaking. Like part of the external equipment on the camera, you could see it shaking.
Ah man,
Like-
it's hard to be a cameraman. You know, it's hard to operate them.
It's like, do the shot
Especially-
again.
Especially when you're in, suburban places. It's bumpy.
It's really bumpy out there. Imagine in the country, it's really easy. You just have to kind of just,
There was one shot where it looked like the camera was over water.
the
yeah.
ocean.
Yeah, the
Oh,
ocean.
don't start the ocean again.
Okay, we gotta talk about this. There's a scene in which they go fishing in what is clearly a dam or like someone's like
Some,
pond.
pond or river or something.
Not a river.
Not a river,
It was
yeah.
still water, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
more
that's
like
right.
a dam. Someone's dam in their backyard or something. And they throw a fishing line and then they catch a window. And Bartek and I were making jokes about how stupid this was. And like the kid that grabbed the window out, his hand got bitten by something. It made like the sound design of the movie made a chomp noise.
Yep.
He reacted, and then it was like, no, he was actually playing around and he didn't get
Yeah,
bitten.
it was a
But then I
prank.
said, but what made the chomp noise?
Yeah.
Did he make the chomp noise?
No, he didn't make the jump.
And
noise.
Rhys's counter to this of them fishing in a dam was, well, it doesn't matter because they wouldn't have been able to catch that because it was on top of the ocean. And I just lost it. I lost my mind because Rhys thinks that a swampy brown ass fucking sewage covered dam
In the suburb.
in the middle of suburbia is the ocean.
I didn't think that. it just rolled off my tongue. Okay.
He just saw a body of water and he said a body of water word.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, when he fills up his bathtub, ocean. Hey, Mum, Dad, I've got a bathtub of ocean. man.
And he was a giant kraken when he gets in.
Rhys delivered another Rhysism.
No, that
This
was
is
by
right
accident.
Up there. This is right up there.
But seriously, how could they have caught that window with with
Maybe the window was floating, like just
like it would have been heavy in that.
Wasn't there a thing of like they were lying down, like making fun of one of the kids because he threw his rod in the
Yeah, man.
ocean, quote unquote.
And Rhys said, "I've done that once," and I said, "Oh yeah."
Wait, what did I
Did-
say? I do?
You said you threw your rod.
Yes.
And then I
did.
asked you, "Oh yeah, how old were you?" And then then you went silent. Went, "Were you too old to be doing that?" And you just shook your head and said, "I'll talk about it another time."
But what I was saying was, when they were just laughing there, and oh, by the way, the laughter was amazing.
I don't like fishing anyway. I think Johnny's pole moved. What?
Yeah, when they were doing the fake laughter thing, real laughter thing, they saw that the fishing rod that apparently caught the window was like shaking, and then the kid decided,
like a fish was biting it.
Yeah, and the kid decided instead of grabbing the rod, I'll grab the thing with my hand. So.
Well, no. They drew it in, but it got caught underneath.
Oh, right.
So he had to step in and grab it out, which
Right.
you sometimes have to do.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Now, Rhys,
Yes.
tell us about how old you were and why you threw your fishing rod into the ocean.
To catch
Well,
fish, dummy.
Do you remember how he did it? Essentially, like
He thought he was fly fishing and he let go of it.
So that's exactly how I did it.
How old were you, Rhys?
So two things happened that day with the fishing rod, okay? The first thing was that I I threw it like he did in the film. I thought it was fly fishing. You back, forward, I lost the rod. Okay? The second time, I was instructed on how to do it properly. So I thought, okay, throw it out again. This time, the string attached to the fishing rod wasn't attached properly, and I lost the string, basically.
That's all right. Fishing line, yeah.
Yeah, fishing line.
The string.
And well, that was the end of my fishing career, essentially. That was the last time I ever fished.
How old were you, Rhys? Stop skipping that question.
I would have been 14.
14!
And did you catch a lunker or a monster?
I caught some mud.
So what happened next? We get set up.
I didn't know mud was in the ocean.
The
No,
kids...
mud's in like a... Oh, no, wait, isn't it?
Sorry, the ocean as in the film's ocean type of ocean.
No, real ocean. mate.
We much like I mentioned with the star, we learned that the kids.
Oh, yeah, the kid's blue star. Let's get on that. Yeah, go on.
Some of the kids have items. Like one of them has a star, one of them has $5.
Like I said, like a video game.
Like a video game, and you.
This is his amulet.
His amulet of power gives him plus 5% strength.
No, luck.
Luck. Oh, of course. Oh, that actually.
That's literally
It's his lucky.
strength.
It's his lucky star.
It's his lucky star.
Hello, my lucky star.
Yeah, he made. You know what? I love the vanity there. The vanity of I physically made in art class a shitty little star and I painted it blue, and it is imbued with luck. Usually, when kids have objects like this and they say it's my lucky hat or it's my lucky shoes, they're not usually things that they made themselves. Like it's I don't know, it's this weird vanity there of like, this star that I made in art class, it's lucky because I made it. I don't know, it's very odd.
I don't know. I think you can be sentimental. Like the luck comes from sentimentality, and he made it. You can be sentimental about it.
I don't know, I just found it very... well, that kid's arrogant. That's why I'm also not giving him a pass on that. Like, specifically, that kid, that one out of the three, is the most pompous one.
The sensitive one?
Yeah, he is arrogant. He's sensitive and arrogant, but pompous as well. Like, there's so many times he gives zingers.
I just think you're jealous of his star, Ryan.
No, I think he's one of the best written characters in the movie.
Now
Keyword in the movie.
Now who's the brunette one?
Wait, what?
Ryan disagrees. He thinks
Oh,
there's
he
a
disagrees,
different-
okay.
He thinks there's a different best written character in the film.
The teacher, dumbasses.
Yeah, don't call me a dumbass. I was just explaining your point. Wow, that was really mean of you, Ryan. Fuck. And you think
Butt cork.
and you think you're the sensitive one?
I said I was the bully. No, but you were saying the kid has a star. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
It's very essential to the movie. Does he have it the whole movie?
If by whole movie you mean early on and late in, he
Is it
would.
because he just drops it in the backyard?
Yes.
Yeah, but both the star and the $5 just get dropped.
But we at least see when the star gets dropped.
Yeah, that one gets its own shot, and we later see it again, having been taken by someone else.
The junkyard guy.
Yes, the getter horse.
Ghetto ho.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Can we just talk about the star's journey? The star gets taken from their backyard. Backyard being, their property. The whole thing about Ghetto Horse is he'll leave you alone if you leave him alone. Like, that's the rules.
Don't
like,
trespass.
If you trespass on his property, he'll shoot you or some crap. There's a whole thing about the property thing. But he makes a whole thing about don't get on my property. But him having the star indicates that he went on their property to take their possessions. So he doesn't even have, as Obi-Wan would call it, the high ground. Literally or figuratively. And that is another thing, like, the payoff there. It's still, like, it's setting up, like, okay, this guy doesn't like you trespassing on property. But then he doesn't even follow through that on it himself. And there's no payoff to that. There's no, like, gotcha, you got that from my backyard, or, like, you're a hypocrite, or duh-duh-duh. And they're saying, and this whole sequence also takes place in which most of the time the kids aren't even on his property, and he's like, get off my property. They're not on it.
Yeah, there's a whole... It's a really odd thing of, you never see him take the star, you just see him have the star as he's riding away, and you have to deduce to yourself, like,
Well,
okay...
last time I saw it, it was in the backyard.
It was on someone else's property, so he must have gone on someone else's property. So it's
and
very odd.
You have to deduce again at the last minute of the film because you see it in his junkyard, like like on a table, right?
Well, we saw it earlier when he was riding around on the bicycle. It was hanging It was in his like
Yeah, but when they were
baby carrier.
when they were on his property and looking for doors, you saw it on like top of a pile of stuff.
Yeah, but it was distinctive because it was bright blue and the rest is like brown and grey.
And then like they don't see it, like the kids don't
No.
see it.
No, they
But
walk right
then,
past it.
The end of the movie.
the end of the movie, the brunette has it in his pocket, and you have to deduce that he just grabbed it
at some point.
Because I reckon the
This is a
filmmaker-
gang that couldn't find the door that they were looking for, and it was like the first door in the room.
Yeah. Oh, there's the door.
Yeah, they walk past both these things, but we see them see the door.
When they get to this junkyard place and they're trying to look for a door so that they can add it to their fort, and this junkyard guy has taken the door that they were eyeing off, they go to his place, time pressure is happening, they know he's going to be back, They are looking at like 15 doors, and they're going, none of these are our door.
Yeah,
Why does it fucking matter if it's not your door? Just take one of the doors and take it so you don't have to get caught. You know the reason why? Because we need the movie to be longer.
Yeah, they seem to.
Oh yeah, that went forever. Just them searching for the frickin' door. It's like
I guess
your point was better, like for them just to get a door and get out.
Yeah, I guess.
And then they're called Get a Door from Get a Horse.
Yeah, I guess the writer was like, no, these kids specific.
Ryder. Fuck you, Ryder.
Fuck you! When we were watching the film, you said someone wrote this.
Yeah, but like, that's the joke. Someone apparently wrote this, but there's no fucking writer. They're like, yeah, credited, but this is just like, you said it yourself. A bunch of these kids are the director and producer's kids,
Probably,
and
yeah.
they just shot a film with them in it and strung things together and made a loose narrative. There was no fucking written script for this. The script was probably just, this would be the next set piece, but these kids didn't actually have written dialogue that was coming from a script. You could tell that they were just winging it a lot of the time, and a lot of the time they couldn't even get the take right, and they kept it in anyway.
I interpreted more as like they fucked up reading the lines. And,
Oh.
like, deleted them.
Probably, but I don't genuinely believe that there was a 100% solid script that was written and it got to screen. I believe that they just had vague notions and some stuff written down like you do when you were filming stuff at high school with your friends. And you just go, oh, this will be the scene in which the junkyard guy comes back. And how do we determine this? We have, kid, you say something. And the kid says, like, the wrong thing. No. The junkyard guy's leaving. And the kid says...
Oh, here he comes.
Here he comes.
Instead of there he goes.
There he goes.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing, like, if there was a script, they would have known not to do that. But I give the leniency of the people who were so incompetent that they didn't have a script, a proper script, like a full written, everything scripted script, in comparison to they were so incompetent that the script that they had was that fucking poorly written. In fact, I believe, if anything... the director doesn't exist, the director-writer. I believe it's the three kids standing on each other's shoulders with a giant trench coat at a typewriter, pretending to be an adult.
So
That's who I imagine.
the director Gary
you've got-
Shawcross doesn't exist.
He doesn't exist.
So you've gone around to saying that there was a writer.
No, it was three kids
But
in
there
a
was-
suit.
And they wrote.
And they wrote some things, but then got bored silly and improvised. But go on, to your point, there was a writer.
Whether or not there was a writer... I'll speak on it from logic sense. Like, the logic of the kids was, that's our door, so we have to find the door. And then they had to be, like, stubborn to find their door.
Yeah, this movie is the most boring movie we've watched on the podcast. I'm saying it right now. It gets an F. I do not recommend it. Saying that right now.
And yet, for the millionth time, I had a great time just watching you watch the film.
But that doesn't count as the film being enjoyable.
You're elevating the films for me, Ryan.
Yeah.
I love the mystery box.
Well, see, someone has to have reactions because Rhys is sitting there
I had a
looking
lot
at
of
the
laughs.
floor, and you're laughing at things that
I
are
wasn't
just...
looking at the floor.
You were.
I was not.
Oh, you were. I looked at Rhys. There were so many times where he was so bored that his eyes were just kind of glancing over at things in my lounge room and kind of looking at his bottle of what was it, milk or whatever you had, and then he would look at the floor, and then sometimes he would look at Bartek while Bartek got up to stand up, and that would be where I saw your attention at. My attention was just like, oh my fucking god, do this technical thing right. And Bartek, I would get annoyed because he would be laughing and try to give a pass sometimes to just mildly, not even funny, just things like a kid would would jump across some water, and Bartek would laugh and go, "Oh, that was cute." I'm like, and I'd be like, "Fuck you!" There was so many times in this movie when we were watching it, you're like, "Oh, come on, it's a kids movie. That was cute." And I was like,
Well, when I said it's a kids movie, those were jokes, but there were some things I laughed at just because, like, oh, shitty acting.
"Yeah, but
And you were the one that laughed, like got, excitable when the bully got squirted with the Gatorade.
no, I was screaming. I was
Oh,
like, that doesn't even fucking work."
No, that was an example of a payoff that we thought was coming, but it was delivered in a way that, like, it didn't have the meaning that it should have.
Most of my laughter was screaming with like, "Oh, fucking what?" Like that kind of laughter was what I mainly had. You found things funny. Rhys never laughed.
No, I found things frustrating.
He never laughed. I didn't laugh. Again, you're the brunette in the room. No, you found things funny. You did. I find it interesting with you. So many times we watch properly funny things on our other show and in life and on this, and you don't laugh. But then with a movie like this, where it's so dull and so boring, you grasp at the straw so strongly with those to get any laughter out of it. And then when I sigh with frustration, you, whether you're funny or not, you berate me for not enjoying it. And I tell you to go fuck yourself, and then you get defensive about it. Like, no, come on, Ryan, that was funny. And I just be like, fuck you. To be honest, is this the most boring movie we've watched on the Mystery Box?
It was pretty dull at points.
Points? Not as a whole thing?
Well, just when I say points, it's just because I've grasped laughter from, shitty things. But in terms of most boring, I'd have to think back. Like, again, this is the really weird thing with the Mystery Box. It feels like every time we find something boring, we think of that as the new boring. And then I always say to myself, one day we're going to have to think back on this and, like, defend it in a way. And
I don't think I will be doing that for this
But
one.
we say that every time. We say, like, at least the fourth tenor had this or whatever, like that. So,
But we would say that in the episodes themselves. Like, even the fourth tenor, you always seem to bring up the fourth tenor as, like, this big negative experience for you, but you were the one in the episode who was defending it heavily.
No, but it's always this thing of, like, even if I do find, laughter or whatever in things, like, a lot of episodes have ended by me saying, like, I do not recommend it, and you're like, I'm surprised, because you laughed, and things
Yeah,
like
you
that.
loved it, and you were defending it.
Like, this is also one I'm not going to recommend, even though I did find laughs. It's from...
And the twist is Rhys recommends it.
The twist is Rhys is trying to match it up against other mystery boxes I've done. Keeping Up with the Steins was much more entertaining than this.
It was a movie.
It was a movie.
It was a very straightforward type of movie.
And Alien Intruder...
That's still one of the worst ones we've watched.
Yeah, look, Alien Intruder was boring in spots, I have to admit.
But was it as boring as this?
No.
No.
Alien Intruder was a bit more entertaining than bored silly.
See, I think the difference is I'm questioning whether this is the most boring, not the worst thing we've watched. See,
Yeah.
usually we argue about or discuss the worst thing we've watched. This is, without a doubt, the most boring. Something like Deep Rescue or Meteor Apocalypse or one or two others that we've listed as boring usually are boring in the sense of wasted opportunities. We thought this was going to happen, or this movie set up this was going to happen. It was going to be interesting and funny. And even though those movies were boring, they had funny things in them. Like Pop Guy in Deep Rescue, a guy who had, anger issues because his ears didn't go pop. Or Meteor Apocalypse with the fact that it hated Christianity so much, but it was a faith-based movie. That kind of stuff, or the poor acting. But there's literally nothing to grasp onto as something that I could use in audio editing or to discuss as that was an funny moment that I could look at and go, that was alright, or that was humorous, or that was something. The bad acting is from bad child acting, and to be honest, bad child acting is the most boring of bad acting, because you can't blame them. They're literally children who don't know how to act, and these aren't even the worst child actors I've seen. They're just dull.
They probably got a crash course in acting, like just before the making of this movie, or their crash course was on the film set.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah, I love the idea of their crash course in acting was having to act in this movie. Like, that's the point. I can't blame them. But, I'm not saying that this is the worst movie. Alien Intruder still is probably one of the worst ones, or Rutsuki Doji 2.
Yeah, 2.
And Rutsuki Doji 1, and
that one's great. So
and War Story, and stuff like that. But this is without a doubt the most boring. I can't relate to you when you say there was points in which you were bored. I say the point for me is the beginning through to the end. Like
That's a big point.
That's a big point. Rhys, what about you? Did you find this one of the most boring films you've seen in your life?
I mean, I have seen Tree of Life.
People love that movie, dude.
It's really...
But something happens in Tree of Life, at least.
Yes, that was my point. There was a plot, at least, in Tree of Life.
And
I think.
acting.
And acting, because, yeah, there were actors,
And
but...
dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah, there was dinosaurs in fucking Tree of Life. Yeah, this was hard to get through, to be honest. That's why I was, like, looking at Ryan's DVD collection, his floor, his carpet...
Now he admits
and
it.
enjoying my caramel slice, enjoying like your reactions to this piece of art, we'll call it.
Maybe we need to edit the show so that I watch it separately from you.
Yeah, you watch it in a bubble.
Like, I'll watch it in another room while you're watching it with, like, Rachel and the guest.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a more, genuine discussion.
You see, sometimes I think I need to stop. I need to restrain myself from reacting to this because I know that this is something that
But you
influences
can't help it.
No, I can, but my love for film dictates that I need to comment that this audio sounds terrible in this section, or why is this logical leap happening, or why did they do that? And then also, I can't not react to when Bartek shows any glimmer of positivity to a movie that doesn't deserve any.
That's part of the joke, yeah.
I mean, they made the film, they finished the film, or like they released the film. That's probably the only positivity they got from it, and the kids got maybe some form of popularity from it. Maybe that's about it.
Can you imagine being popular because you did Bored Silly as a kid?
Well, I don't know when it came out. I'm imagining it's not too far from, like, The Phantom Menace, so...
Yeah, you did keep comparing him to Anakin.
I mentioned Jake Lloyd once. I just literally said, "Where's Jake Lloyd?"
kept comparing. That's Bartek's
One time.
That's him. But you always compare every child actor to Jake Lloyd.
Do I?
You do.
Okay.
That's like your default of, like, anytime a child actor is weak, it's Jake Lloyd.
Are you an angel? An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. They live on the moons of Viego, I think.
Boy, that's something. This movie came in at a triple pack.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other two movies were zany, crazy nonsense with actors that we knew in them at least. Someone we knew, like, oh, there's Gus Fring in the Stardust movie, or in Betaville, there's Gomez Adams, as the president, or Judge Reinhold as the general. There was that kind of zaniness to those movies that was they're children's movies, but with weird and insane performances from adults, and the weird, insane written stuff from the adults. This movie, I wish we had William Shatner in it. Or I wish we had someone like someone weird like Willem Dafoe pop up, or someone like really odd to add to the flavor. Any flavor. This is a flavorless movie. This movie plays it so boring and so you know what it felt like? It felt like I was watching a home video. That's what I mean. Like, it feels like I'm just watching this guy and his kids just doing stupid shit on their summer break. I'm not watching a film. Like, I'm just watching a bunch of kids dick about and make a fort, and oh no, my shoelaces are untied. Like,
I think
so
you did,
fucking what?
I think you did say earlier this was a film.
No.
Yeah, it's really bizarre that this isn't a triple pack with Betaville and Stardust.
The two of the most insane movies we've ever covered.
Insane films with crazy performances, crazy logics, weird sci-fi, not twists or like plot twists, but like twists in what they deliver. And that was part of the big hype of like, okay, I knew this wasn't going to have a sci-fi twist. There was like a 1% chance in the back of my mind being like, I hope. But I was hoping that it would like match the energy, match the like reaction that we'd have to it. Like, we hated Betaville, but we do not stop thinking about it.
But we hated it because it was so bad, but also so great.
Yeah.
It was like when one watches The Room for the first ever time.
Yeah, and we were saying Stardust is like, oh, did we discover The Room?
Yeah,
well, like ironically an old one, but yeah.
Yeah, like this, I knew this wasn't going to capture that because the trailer, you just knew from the trailer in which it's like, oh, kid gets stung by bees. Oh no, they don't even do any bee makeup. Like, they don't have him.
Yeah. It's just that whole thing of like, oh, he sprays them with water. It's like, okay, now pretend they're stinging you, but we can clearly see there's no like dots flying around.
Oh, if there
Not,
were
yeah,
not-
that was
not to be
confusing
confused with
as
not to be
hell.
confused with the dots from Betaville.
Oh, boy.
That was so confusing. He just started dancing in the middle of the scene and dropped the hose. I'm like, what are you doing?
No, I understood exactly what they were doing. It's just that like, oh, you're doing it lazily.
A lot of this film is very lazy because they made a monumental task for themselves, surprisingly enough, in the filming of this. Now, Bartek, Rhys and I studied film, primarily, as well as me doing drama. We both understand the logistical nightmares of filming outdoors.
Yeah, I can.
And
only
this whole
imagine.
entire film is filmed outdoors. And to cover the logistical nightmares of not only working with kids and animals and working outdoors, but the audio is always one of the hardest things to do when making a film. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Audio is very, very difficult, and you only make it more difficult by making your whole entire film outdoors. So they go around this problem by obscuring the kids' mouths or heads at certain points, shooting them from a really far away distance, or cutting very quickly, or shooting a static shot of some other object so that they can have the kids record their lines in a studio or in a room or something, so the audio doesn't sound like The Rise and Fall of Baal, a thing that we covered on the show, in which that used all outdoor audio, and it was like a nightmare on
Yeah,
the
you can
ears.
hear like wind.
This faced that problem. Rhys, we know about how difficult it is. Do you think that the way that they covered it logistically, do you feel sympathetic towards them? Like, you know what, that was a good way of trying to do it. Or do you think it was lazy?
I mean, good on them for wanting to do a film that's majorly like 90% set outside.
Yeah.
One. But if they were going to do that, they were going to have to consider that there's going to be wind, there's going to be rain, there's going to be shitty weather, there's going to be
crickets.
There's going to be crickets, there's going to be other people, there's going to be cars that you have to wait for.
Just
essentially.
natural ambient noise from
So
nature.
they should have just been patient, as opposed to what we saw in Bored Silly, which was a lot of ADR work. A lot.
The only time I really believe that they filmed the audio in the room proper was when they were in their fort, when they were in the garage with a lawnmower, but primarily in the school, in the classroom, and that was where the audio was the fucking worst, and it makes sense it was the fucking worst, because the kids were screaming and the teacher was in a loud room echoing noise, and it just made the audio peak.
Power becomes a thing, so the cameras would have run out of charge easier outside.
Yeah.
So maybe that explains why they've cut so quickly to other shots.
Yeah, or the kids get bored.
And ironically, we see very long shots.
And then ironically, we see those long shots that have like probably not a lot of audio. And it's just, oh, they're walking from left to right. Oh, right to left.
Hey, it's
okay.
that silo again.
Yeah.
Thanks, and Sile again. Like, I feel sympathetic towards them. This is a monumental burden to do, but at the same time, I'd only really have sympathy for them if they were university students like we were making a film, in which, okay, understandable, but these are not.
Yeah, they're
They've
kids in a
somehow
trench coat.
conned people's money to be put into this production. Like, things were in focus. The film looked visually nice. Like, it was competent, I mean, when I say visually nice.
Yeah.
Like, there was no glaring, ugly shots like in Stardust or in Betaville or in other movies we've covered on the show. Like, unlike Alien Intruder, I could see what was happening on screen. I could tell what characters were what. You know, basic, simple filmmaking was done. The audio is where you see, like, the obvious trickeries of the trade. So I feel like, you know, I give them a break, but at the same time, it was such a boring movie, and the film edited in a way where you just notice that they're editing the film so that the film can look better than what it would if they just used proper, like, if they just didn't bother trying to trick us with how bad the audio would have been. They didn't have enough time or resources to make a proper soundscape so everything felt more real. So another disconnect for me was it just felt fake. Like, it just felt like all these disparate elements, audios and visuals and cutting here and there, were just all kind of put on top of each other and not melded together like a real film does. So again, there's nothing to connect to. I can't even connect to the somewhat competent filmmaking because it's like, yeah, the audio is competent in the fact that the audio that they recorded in sound booth sounds alright, but put on top of the image, it just, it's not real.
It's a good thing for you dweebs. My girlfriend showed up. My girlfriend.
We have been railing on this film, except for Bartek, who loves it. 5 stars. No, I'm kidding. To get back to some positives or some things that we found noteworthy, was there anything? Because I'm really struggling to think if there was anything I genuinely liked about this movie.
I mean, I guess, yeah, they were trying to some extent.
I mean, I'll commend them. They tried.
I know that we talked about how the first scene, they set up the characters and a lot of those elements didn't really pay off. But I guess throughout the film, at least maybe 2 of them. I'm honestly,
Moment of silence.
I'm honestly struggling to remember one of the
All right.
kids.
I'll give you a point. just to help you out.
No, but I haven't finished mine.
Okay. Right.
It feels like they were giving them some sort of arc, like with the sensitive kid, he was upset but then they bungle it at some point. So they tried to give them arcs in a way.
The basics of storytelling.
Yeah.
They tried to have characters.
Yeah, but
they tried to have development and arcs, so they tried, but they failed.
They failed, yeah.
And they easily failed, so
Very
easily.
much.
Rhys, anything positive or noteworthy?
I have 2, and only 2. Bartek mentioned the trying part. That's agreeable.
I found it trying.
The more you repeat it, the sadder it becomes. So,
No, I thought it was very sad to begin with.
Honestly, I found the locations I found, and the production design, sort of like what they built for the film, was pretty good.
Yeah.
So that means they probably used their budget okay.
Well, you say that, Rhys, but there was a fence that when you pulled one plank, it all fell apart.
And there's no repercussions.
Yeah, that was a weird one. The person who put the wood plank there would like to stop that wall from falling down, but I didn't know it held up every single other wall. Does that make sense?
No. No.
Anyway.
Okay, you've actually inspired me with one.
Oh, okay. I've inspired you. That's good.
Continuity existed. This film, when their clothes got dirty, they remained dirty. They didn't have, that moment where, hey, their clothes... Well, they even did the basic of, their clothes are wet in one scene, then the next scene they're still slightly damp, and you see they get drier. And the continuity of how the day passes, it really does feel like this is all taking place in this amount of hours.
Especially on, summer where it's longer days.
Exactly, yeah. So they actually did a competent job. It never made me feel like I was stuck and going, wait, isn't this still morning? When they're like, hey, dinner time. That bit was a bit confusing when they're like, oh, what about dinner? And I'm like, but then it made sense. It was just framed a bit weird. It was sounding like dinner was just going to happen, but no, they were planning ahead. Yep. But they did stuff like that, and there were some very interesting shots, whether I give it a point or not, because the interesting shots were funny. I don't think they were supposed to be. When we had, the David Lynchian type shots of the younger sister's eyes peering out of their fort with her glasses, and it was very sinister, and the way that they didn't give us any answers to who that was until very late into the movie. So I'll give them the basic hook effect of pulp novels, in which I was waiting for that reveal. I didn't expect it to be a sister.
We were joking that it was the teacher for some reason.
Oh, I made that joke because she had glasses on, and that was the only other woman in the film that had glasses.
I remember
at that point.
We all had some thoughts on the lawnmower. Some of us didn't know what it was.
I thought it was like a buggy. I thought it was like a little little car that they were going to drive around and be Dixon, but it was a lawnmower, and I've never seen a lawnmower look like that before.
It's like a lawnmower with AI because it kept turning.
It looked like it had a seat in it, you could sit in it, like Ryan said, but
it's not a ride-on mower.
No, it's not.
It looked like they were going to be like, oh yeah, my brother's, makeshift little car we're going to drive around. That's cool. And I'm like, cool. They're going to do little things, and then maybe it will pay off where they're trying to escape the bully, but oh no, their car gets stuck in the swampland that is their backyard. I was looking for things. I was looking for actions and payoff. that's it. Like, noteworthy things that I found in the movie. We've already kind of brushed over all the funny stuff, or remotely funny. There was nothing so bad that I was like, oh, remember that? Other than just bungled up payoffs.
Do you remember the bully's first scene with the pipe?
Yeah, I guess. We have quoted it a fair bit. Rhys, do you want to tell us about the teenage bully and his pipe?
We should probably start with the ice cream scene just briefly.
Right, so...
Oh, yeah.
Since that's a payoff to that.
The setup.
They hear the ice cream man coming, and it's just like, yeah, they're going to get ice cream. And then...
And how do we know they're going to get ice cream?
Do they say anything?
They scream the words, bear with me, ice cream.
How many times?
I didn't count.
How many dozen times?
A lot of dozen times.
Ice cream! 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 Ice
So they go for the ice cream, and they don't have any money for ice cream.
What do you mean? They have the $5 that the one kid
They
has.
lost the $5.
Fuck.
When?
I don't know.
How?
I don't know.
Where?
Well, we learn later it's on the middle of the
Why?
road, I guess.
And then, so they spot other kids eating ice cream, and Johnny, the brunette, does he throw the rock at him?
No.
He doesn't throw the rock
He
at him.
pretends to throw a rock.
He pretends to throw a rock, and the kids run away.
He gives them like a whole speech about like he hopes that they choke and they freeze and die or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you're... No, he's like, I hope because they're eating ice blocks, not ice cream.
Yeah.
I hope your teeth freeze and then your head freezes and then you die. And I'm like, wow, that's a bit brutal, dude.
And then later on, the older brother of one of the kids catches up with our three main protagonists, and then puts Johnny in a drain, basically.
No. He makes Johnny put himself in the
Okay,
drain.
Johnny makes himself put in the drain, basically.
Or else he'll brush his teeth with his fist.
Yeah, which, that was a good one, I have to admit.
That was a great line.
We do like bully characters. So,
He reminded of us, he was like the brother of the bully from Big Fat Liar.
Yeah, from the beginning of Big Fat Liar.
No. Later in Big Fat Liar when he was even dumber.
When he was even dumber.
Yeah, because at the start of Big Fat Liar, the whole point was he was really smart. But then he became progressively dumber every time we met the bully.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But in this movie, this bully was really dumb from the beginning. He used the famous line that we've used.
Was I talking to you, butt cork?
And his thing is, he set up the payoff of, oh, he'll regret this. Like, oh, what was it the kid said? Like, you'll get yours.
Well, you'll get yours, yeah.
Because the kid left the other kid stuck in a pipe to die, basically. Like, let's be honest, that kid probably would have died. Like, stuck in a pipe on a summer day, that kid would fucking die if his friends weren't there.
But his friends were there.
No, but like, but the bully doesn't care. Like, the bully's like, he's stuck, because he doesn't know that they could get him out. They only get him out because one of them has knowledge about his sister getting their head stuck, and they grab some oil or whatever and rub it all over. But the bully didn't know that. The bully's perspective is, oh, he's stuck, and he's going to be stuck there forever. Ha ha ha, I'm off. So the bully's set up as someone who could potentially leave someone to be murdered in this kid's film. And so it's like, you'll get yours. So we're expecting as an audience, ooh, a big payoff's going to happen there.
Yeah, but also we're wondering, like, oh, it's a kid's film, so it's going to be something like, you know...
But still, it's like, that's a pretty big, even in kids' films, villains get their big comeuppances.
Yeah,
Even as a kids.
but like something kids are capable of, like, you know, Home Alone traps or something.
Yeah. But still, like, ooh, he's going to get some...
It's going to be something with a punch that we're going to be like, yeah, good one.
Big comeuppance. We were expecting it. And Bartek, what was it?
So the bully comes back right near the end of the film. I think it was like the third last scene, and we were like rounding up, like, all right, what else do we have to pay off? And there's another like back and forth threat, and then the bully sees that like, oh, his girlfriend is coming.
Because he wants their money. Because they have their $5 note out to get ice cream. He wants it.
Yeah. But when he sees his girlfriend, he's like, oh, you guys are lucky. I'm gonna leave you alone because my girlfriend's coming. And at this point, the kids just came back from the get a horse sequence, which I guess was the climax of the film. And they have a huge like super soaker filled with Gatorade, and the kid that has the super soaker, they got like this close up on his face, and he's saying these like
it's time to pay.
Time to pay, like Western parody.
And
like,
he's looking
line.
down the scope. of it, which by the way, they've shown it, and we know Super Soakers, that's not an actual scope he's looking down. He would be looking at plastic.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have actually been able to see what he was aiming at. But go.
Yep, and it's clear like, oh, okay, he's gonna like shoot his crotch and make it look like he wet his pants.
So we think.
So we think. And yeah, he does shoot him like all around like that middle of the body area. But the biggest payoff that we were expecting was like, oh, the girlfriend's gonna come, notice that he's wet, and think like,
he's
oh,
peed himself.
genuinely think like, you wet yourself, what a loser, go away. But the way that it plays out, the girlfriend sees the entire thing. She knows that he's been sprayed from a super soaker. So he runs away embarrassed.
Like a coward.
Like a coward.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Maybe not... like, I don't even know if the film's logic was that, like, he'd think that she'd think that.
No, I think it was like, oh no, water's my weakness, I'm the Wicked Witch.
Or simply like, oh, someone else is gonna see me and think I wet myself.
No, I don't even think the whole idea of him wetting himself comes into play. I think it's like, they sprayed me with water. Oh, fuck, this is terrible.
Covered in water I was.
Covered in water I was.
And then the girlfriend just like sees him running away like a cow and just shakes her head and walks
No,
off.
she shakes it really disparagingly, like, how fucking dare he? And leaves. And that's supposed to be the big payoff.
Yeah, that's
to the kid that nearly murdered another kid.
That's the bully subplot.
So we think the actual ending of his subplot is
the actual
the second last shot of the movie, well, second last scene of the movie is just a static shot of him walking down the street, punching his hand in his, just like, ooh, I'm gonna get those kids, and that's it. And then we cut to the junkyard guy, and he's riding his bicycle menacingly, going, ooh, and we're expecting, oh no, these two bullies are gonna converge on our heroes.
Basically, the final three confrontations of the film are, the junkyard with Get a Horse, the super soaker thing with the bully, and also
the sister.
When we mentioned earlier that they buried the Game Boy, they find out that the sister took it and like she's put it in her like dollhouse with her friends, and they get revenge on them. So we think like, okay, those are the three I guess threats of the film.
Yeah.
And the film ends with like this promise of like, oh, the three of them are coming to get them again. So like you see the bully like punching his hand.
The guy on the bike.
The guy on the bike riding to them, and we get a cutaway shot
of
back
the little girl in the fort.
of the little girls in the fort. They like got their stuff, and the kids, they're lying down. They're like reflecting over their adventure, and they have this line of, "Hey, did we lock the fort?" And that gives them this, like, looking at each other thing.
Looking at the camera.
Looking at the camera, scream, and that's the end. And it's this really bizarre thing of, they've realized that the least threatening thing is probably happening, and there's no further extrapolation of the fact that there's a bully coming to beat them up and the Getter horse is riding towards them.
See, it would have just worked with it just being the fortress thing, but for some reason they decided we need the other two elements to converge as well when they were already defeated. So why? I don't it just adds nothing. It would have just been fine if it was like, wait, did we lock the fortress? And then it cuts to the sister in there and then cuts back and they scream. Easy peasy, done. But they make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, and it could have even just been a joke of like, oh, the least threatening one is back at it. But, yeah.
That's it. That's the movie.
You guys locked the fort, right? Uh-oh.
Well, I really like girls.
Do we want to guess what year this movie came out in?
I'm gonna say, can I guess the exact year?
That's what we
That's
want.
what we want. We don't want you to be like, I think it came out in the 90s, and then that's it.
I'm gonna say 2003.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think I can be bold to guess after the 90s, so I'm gonna go 97 or 98.
It's Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I know. And they mentioned N64 at some point, and I know that was definitely.
But at least mentioned Smash Bros. Yeah.
They mentioned Smash Brothers, yeah. I'm just gonna guess 98.
Okay, so I got it right.
Okay.
It's 2000.
Oh.
Okay.
Why I thought that was, I was trying to remember when I had a Game Boy Color. And I was like,
oh, you're right, it was color, wasn't it?
I was like, I think around 2000, 2001 is when I had one. And that's the only reason I got it. Was like, I was trying to recollect
I got mine
I had one.
I don't know, I had mine in 2002, but it was definitely out for a while at that point.
So we don't recommend it.
No.
But I got a fun thing when
You got a
looking up this movie. I found a review.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
This is usually for unappreciated masterpieces, but I thought to liven it up. 1 star out of 10.
Once out of one.
The title hooked me, and I read about half of it, and then I was like, I need to read this.
Okay.
This is a story in itself. The title is The Only Movie Playing at Furniture Row.
What?
That's the title.
Okay.
I work at a Furniture Row store, and this is the only movie we are supposed to have for the children area DVD player. I have not sat down to watch it all the way through, in brackets, and never will. But I have seen and heard it in passing by enough that I can judge it now. Basically, all of it consists of is children screaming loudly, ear-shutteringly loudly. It is as if the camera was given to the kids themselves and they said, you know what would be really funny? Us screaming again. I always turn the volume off so the show can be seen but not heard. And then in brackets, the company insists we have it on all the time for the kids. Hooey. Of course, a kid always turns it way up, especially if I'm in the vicinity of the TV and have a good customer. I'll be in my presentation and I'll hear this show and the screams travel up my spine, causing me to want to convulse, and then I can't sell anything. I used to just find this show audibly offensive. Now I can't stand the sight of it either. I can only hope that one day every copy of this film will be transferred to the silver nitrate, so it will only one day decompose and will forever be rid of this movie. It sounds like George Lucas with the Star Wars Holiday Special, where he was like, if I had a sledgehammer all the time in the world.
I'd like to imagine that the reviewer looks like Get a Horse, and that's the reason why the kids torment him.
So, that was Bored Silly. Made us very bored silly. Made that guy insane, apparently.
What are
Yeah.
you talking about? There was a scene where the kids fucking got revenge against girls that were in the pool.
With frogs.
That was...
Oh no, you're talking about
The pool
those girls.
scene.
Sorry, you said revenge. I was like, no, they were antagonizing them. It wasn't revenge.
Revenge against being girls in a world of boys.
Yucky. We were really worried that we were gonna have a girl character join the movie at one point,
One of the first characters we see is like a girl in the class.
and we thought, "Ooh, is she gonna be a main?" And then
Yeah.
no.
No.
We even follow her, find her bike, and we're like, okay.
I actually thought that I didn't remember if she had glasses or not, but I thought that she was the one that stole the Game Boy.
No glasses.
But
only
no, there's
teacher
a sister.
and the sister. So that's Bored Silly. A pleasure finally having it off the box list. It's finally done and dusted. It's a pleasure that after this episode is released, I'll never have to think about it ever again. And that's
Literally why I said it's good that we had the film picked.
You know what's really great about this show, The Mystery Box? If you listen to us in chronological order, you can feel the enthusiasm and joy of watching cinema deteriorate in the both of us, Bartek. Like at the beginning, we were like, Frosty the Snowman, Burt Reynolds doesn't sing. Oh boy, that's really sad. And then it will be like Tender Loving Care, where you're like, it's not pornography, okay? I didn't make us watch another porn film. Then I'll be like, you fucking did, you cunt! I fucking hate you! I want you to die! And then this movie's just like, it's the most boring film we've ever watched. And Rhys is just like, I think the ocean is not at all
One
different.
time I said ocean.
And I'm laughing, but not at the film.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a great documentation for when eventually I commit a murder-suicide on all of us. Like, it'll be like, why? How did Ryan get to that psychological breaking point?
And why is
Better
Bartek's
listen
dead body
to the-
smiling?
Why is he laughing?
The next mystery box will be a lot better than Bored Silly.
You think? Don't promise that.
I can
Do
promise
not
that.
promise that.
I already did promise it.
See, if you did this for the almost 2 years or whatever, how long we've ever been doing this? 2 years?
2 years, 1 month, yeah.
2 years, 1 month that we've been doing this, you wouldn't be that enthusiastic, dude. So,
I know there is another sci-fi film in the mystery box.
I love sci-fi. I hope it's Robo-Rex. So new year, new decade, new way of getting out of the room, Bartek.
But same old us.
No, we're different now, because
Not-
we're bored silly.
Not me.
And we're stuck in a furniture row store, and the TV's got this cranking
You're
up.
stuck in a furniture roaster.
We are.
Oh, we are, yeah.
Rhys, you're
Yes.
part of this podcast.
I am
dude.
part of this podcast.
We're stuck in a furniture row store. The kid has cranked up the volume, and we're trying to sell some furniture to a customer, but that feeling in the spines come up. We need someone from this movie to help be our wingman in this sales pitch of some furniture.
So we're not leaving the room?
No. We will. No. We have to make the sale to leave.
Oh, so we can go home with money.
Exactly. We're doing our work.
Right.
We're working from 9 to 5. So it's, we can't leave until we make this sale or else we're not going to be able to eat. Dude, that's going to be really tough for
we'd
you.
We'd have to go have worms.
Yeah. Remember, wait, can we just briefly put aside? There was a weird shot of this really fat kid jumping into a pool.
Oh, yeah.
It was supposed to be like, you're thinking, oh, there's going to be a gag here. But I guess there wasn't. I think it was just like someone had a kid who was really fat and they wanted that kid to jump in the pool.
There were also shots of all the lifeguards and they're all women and it was like, oh, are they going to like be, stopping the kids doing something?
No. But so where Furniture Row, I nominate to help me sell better furniture, to help us sell better furniture. I think a wingman that would be really, really perfect for this would be that frog that's on the cover of the poster that had a toy in its mouth in one scene. I think you'd be really good. What about you, Bartek?
Yeah, well, but on the cover, I believe the toy was red, and in the film, the toy was blue.
It was a bluey purple.
So can we trust him?
I don't know.
But then again, do salespeople lie a lot about like the quality of product?
Yes.
Not at Furniture Row.
Not at Furniture Row. Okay, so can we really say that the frog is who we want?
But who do you think would be good for you? Who can you trust?
I mean, do we want like a sincere pitch or an aggressive pitch?
Well,
Aggressive.
This guy, no, hold on. The guy in the IMDb review sounded like he was a sincere employee who was just suffering a lot. So I think sincere.
Okay, because
I don't want to discredit the honorable reviewer.
If we want a sincere pitch, the character that immediately pops to mind is the character that had what I could consider a speech. And that would be the kid who, yelled at the kids eating ice cream.
What was their name?
Johnny. I think it was Johnny. Ocean Man says so.
Rhys?
Yes.
Who do you nominate?
If it was aggressive, I'd say the bully.
If it was sincere, I'd say the sensitive kid.
I guess I'm outvoted here.
Well, I mean,
wasn't that the same kid?
No, I think I was the short kid. He was the tall kid.
Oh.
So I think we're all different minds.
Oh, fuck. Okay. So I think the winner is the redhead kid.
Is that my one?
No,
yours
you
was
had the
brunette.
smaller kid.
Okay.
You had the brunette, he had the blonde, and I had the frog. So by default, we pick the redhead. So he comes in with his lucky star. And, that luck just pays off because, luckily enough, the TV falls on the kid that was playing it and crushes them like a Teletubby.
As Teletubbies get crushed, yes.
Do you not remember that incident? Was that not the Teletubbies where a kid, because the Teletubbies was like, hug, and the kid hugged the TV and it fell on them and killed them?
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
That was a big thing.
Wow.
I think that was Teletubbies, dude. Yeah. So, morbidly upbeat. A kid dies, being crushed to death, and we make the sale. You know what we sold?
What did we sell?
We sold the mystery box. That piece of fucking shit's out of here. Now that sucker's stuck with it.
No. I got an idea. The kid dies. We turn to the customer and is like, will you honor that kid's life by purchasing that TV?
I thought you were going to say you're going to chuck in the kid's corpse for free.
No, that goes to the graveyard.
That goes to the graveyard, yeah. So thank you very much, listening people, for listening to us discuss, dissect, defend, analyze, and suffer, deface, dilapidate, and of course,
masticate,
croak like a frog. The film Bored Silly. I guess until next time, listening people, remember.